Well, it wasn't all bad for some of our local teams, although we did kind of take a beating in terms of who's now left standing in the baseball and softball playoffs. I know you were intimately involved in following the Harleton baseball. Man, what a rally from that game one performance to the way they showed up on Saturday, right?
I'll tell you, Brandon Smith and I were covering that game Thursday night, and I don't know that Harleton and Coach Beck was on with me this morning on the show at KMHT. He even said it. I don't know that they could have played any worse. They committed either 6 or 7 errors. Of course, Canna Mildred, their pitcher, looked very good. They hit the ball well, but still, it was just a rough game for Harleton. And then they turn around Saturday and win 2 games, huge. And combined 33-5. And I texted Brandon Smith, my buddy who covered the game with me on Thursday, and I was like, I don't think they're going to invite us back to any games because the one game we did, they lost 12-1. Obviously, I think the errors played some role in that. But great turnaround. Talked to Coach Beck this morning. He said they met for the athletic period Friday, and they talked about situations. They just talked a little bit. And he gave them the afternoon and the evening off. They did not practice Friday. He said, I think they just needed to step away from a little bit from baseball. I could tell, he said, driving home, it was a silent hour-and-a-half bus ride home. And he knew when they got off that bus that their heads were where they needed to be. And apparently they were, because they took care of business Saturday.
Yeah, that's the sign of a really good team, a really well-coached team, and just kind of knowing the pulse of your team and where they are. And, good programs are not satisfied with mediocrity. And based on everything that came out from that game on Thursday, they were not satisfied with that performance. That was not who they were, and they responded in kind. So congratulations to the Harleton Wildcats. They move on. They're joined, of course, from that district by Beckville, advancing on, as well as Overton from that district. The only team from that district that did not advance to area, unfortunately, was the Elysian Fields Yellow Jackets, who ran into a really, really good Frankston team and were defeated in by district. But a pretty good showing by 19-2A, moving on to the area round.
Yeah, for sure.
Other round here locally, talk about Hallsville for just a second. The Bobcats, of course, got a win in game one of their by-district series against Prosper Walnut Grove. A lot of groves to talk about around here, but just think of Little House on the Prairie every time I say that. When I say Walnut Grove, just my mind floats. But then credit to Walnut Grove, they come back and win a tight one in game two, and then win a tight one in game three. I mean, what a series that was. I mean, they edge out the Bobcats 4-3 in game three on Saturday to knock Hallsville out of the postseason early. Man, and then you do a little bit deeper dive. It was not a good baseball playoff showing for the representatives of 10-5A.
Yeah, and I feel like we've talked about this plenty, but we saw it in basketball as well. You're just running smack dab into those DFW schools, and it's that same district that we've talked about. Yes, not a good showing. Shocking? No, I would not say that at all because I know the nature of the talent of the teams they're playing.
Yeah, and and as you said, we have talked about this ad nauseum all year long. We're not going to harp on it today, but only 2 of those series, well, 50% of them, I guess, went to 3 games. The other 2 were sweeps by the other team. It's a little bit rare in baseball to see us get swept in our district. Usually we can send a couple of teams forward into the air round. This is just one of those years where, again, Hallsville and Mount Pleasant forced a game 3, or actually went to a game 3, and just weren't able to get that big win in that 1-game playoff technically. So baseball is done from 10-5A for this season. Fortunately for around here, of course, where I live, Hallsville softball had no problem in their area round matchup against Frisco Lone Star. A couple of double-digit wins. Ladycats putting some runs on the board. They move on to the regional semifinals this week against Belton. again, Hallsville looking to get back to that state tournament and looking pretty good in doing so. They're one of 4 teams left vying for that spot from this region.
Yeah, they're off and running again, building off of last year. Looking at getting Coach Watley on my show this week to kind of discuss that. But yeah, heck of a performance. A lot of times it's tough to have that encore performance, where you kind of keep rolling after the great season, like what we talked about last year, but they seem well on their way to doing that right now.
Just some other results from around the weekend. A big baseball matchup going on in 4A this week, Matt, locally, with Pleasant Grove and Kilgore squaring off in the area there. And that will be interesting. We talked about how Pleasant Grove is having a tremendous year. Had no problem in their by-district round. And again, ranked number 2 in the state. They are taking on the Kilgore Bulldogs, who have a pretty good baseball program themselves over there. That'll be an interesting series here locally. Carthage also has advanced, as well as the defending state champions Spring Hill. They are moving on in the 4A ranks. In the 3A ranks, Liberty Ilo will be taking on Tatum. Again, that's a local matchup of note, along with Gladewater and New Diana. Those 2 squads will be squaring off here locally as well. Over in the softball ranks, the Lady Lobos of Longview were defeated in their area round matchup in 6A. In 4A, still alive are Lindale in D1 and Van in D2. Going down to the 3A ranks, Mineola has advanced in the D1 bracket. They're in softball, rounded out by Beckville from 19-2A. They are still alive in the D2 ranks. And Beckville baseball, of course, will be joining them. So good stuff going on down there in Beckville for their spring sports.
Yeah, not surprising. That's kind of the norm for them.